When I married Daniel Carter, I believed we were unbreakable. He was everything I had imagined in a husband: ambitious, affectionate, reliable. A man who would bring me coffee in bed on lazy Sundays and kiss my forehead before heading off to work. For 7 years, we lived a life that looked enviable from the outside: a cozy home in the suburbs, dinner parties with friends, quiet weekends in the countryside. But in hindsight, I see how the cracks had begun to form long before I dared acknowledge them. It started with the promotion. Daniel, a senior executive at a growing tech firm, had just been elevated to director of operations. I was thrilled for him, genuinely. He deserved it. But as the congratulations settled, so did a growing unease. His hours stretched long into the night. His phone, once forgotten on kitchen counters or coffee tables, never left his side. He said it was just the pressure. "I have to prove myself now, Em. This isn't just a title, it's a test." I nodded, kissed him, and told him I understood. But deep down, I felt a door beginning to close between us. One evening, I stood at the sink, scrubbing dishes while Daniel sat on the sofa, typing furiously into his phone. I asked him if he wanted tea.
He didn't respond.
His lips moved slightly, either reading or replying, his eyes fixed on the screen. I repeated the question. He blinked, looked up, and forced a smile.
"Sorry.
"Just work stuff." "What did you say?" I told him it was nothing. Later that night, as he showered, I glanced at his phone out of reflex. It was locked. I remembered the passcode, but when I tried it, it had been changed. That was the first time I felt something foreign creep into our home. Secrecy. I tried to shake it off. Everyone changes their passwords from time to time. And Daniel had always respected his privacy. I didn't want to become the kind of wife who snooped. But his distance grew undeniable. He forgot my birthday dinner plans. He canceled our weekend getaway, citing an urgent client meeting. His eyes, once so open and warm, now seemed to dart past me. Then came the invitation. It arrived in a sleek, navy envelope embossed with the company logo. Inside was a formal invitation to a leadership retreat in the mountains, 3 nights, exclusive to upper management. I flipped it over and noticed the list of attendees, typed in neat rows. One name caught my attention: Vanessa Langdon. I had never heard of her, but the way the letters sat on the page, it felt too carefully placed, too deliberate. I don't know why, but her name made my stomach tighten. "Who's Vanessa Langdon?" I asked Daniel that night, trying to sound casual. He didn't flinch, but I noticed the beat before his answer. "She's one of the new hires. Marketing director. Smart, sharp. You'd like her." "Have you two worked closely?" "A bit. She's on the same leadership track." "Why?" I shrugged. "Just curious." He kissed my forehead, just like he used to. But this time, it felt cold. That weekend, Daniel left for the retreat. I stayed behind with a growing sense of hollowness. I kept telling myself I was being irrational, insecure, unfair. But the feeling wouldn't leave me. I called my best friend, Samantha, because if anyone could talk me off the ledge, it was her. "Something just feels off," I told her, pacing my living room. "He's not the same. He's somewhere else." "You think he's cheating?" she asked plainly. "I don't know. I don't want to think that. But I can't shake this feeling." Samantha sighed. "Trust your gut, Em. You've always been intuitive. If something's wrong, don't gaslight yourself into silence." Her words stayed with me long after we hung up. That night, I barely slept. I kept replaying the small things: his changed password, his distant eyes, the name on that envelope. The next day, I went for a walk to clear my mind. When I returned home, I saw I had a missed call from an unknown number. A voicemail waited. I pressed play. "Mrs. Carter, this is Richard Hayes. I'm Daniel's supervisor. I'm sorry to reach out like this, but I need to speak with you privately. It's important. Please call me back when you can." My heart skipped. Richard Hayes? The CEO? Daniel had mentioned him, only in passing. From what I knew, he was a man of stature and precision, intimidating, rarely seen, never casual. Why would he be calling me? My fingers trembled as I replayed the message. There was something unsettling in his tone, measured, cautious, almost conflicted. I called him back immediately, and he answered on the first ring. "Thank you for returning my call," he said. "This is delicate, but I need to speak with you. In person, if possible." "What is this about?" I asked. There was a pause. "Your husband." "I can't say more over the phone."
Can we meet?
We agreed to meet the following day at a discreet cafe in the city. As I ended the call, my mind reeled with questions. What could possibly be so important that Daniel's boss needed to speak to me in private? And why did his voice sound like someone burdened by a truth he wished he didn't know? I stared at my reflection in the living room mirror. For the first time in years, I didn't recognize the woman looking back. Some truths don't announce themselves. They whisper. They flicker in glances, tremble in silences, and settle like dust in the corners of your life, until someone brushes them into the light. And I had the chilling sense that tomorrow, everything would be swept into the open. The cafe was tucked between a law office and a bookstore, quiet and dimly lit, perfect for discreet meetings and whispered truths. I arrived early, my nerves threading tight through my chest. I had dressed carefully, almost defensively, in a navy blouse and blazer. I wasn't sure what I was preparing for, but I knew I wanted control, or at least the appearance of it. Richard Hayes walked in exactly on time. Tall, silver-haired, sharply dressed. He exuded the kind of authority that made you straighten your posture, without realizing it. Yet today, his expression bore something softer, guilt maybe, or hesitation. "Mrs. Carter," he said, offering his hand. "Thank you for meeting me." "Emily," I corrected, trying to steady my voice. "Please." We sat. He ordered black coffee. I asked for tea, mostly for something to hold. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The clink of cutlery and soft hum of conversation around us only made the silence between us louder. Finally, he spoke. "I want you to know this isn't easy for me, and I didn't come to this decision lightly." I nodded, cautious. "You said this was about Daniel." Richard's eyes dropped to the table.
Yes.
"And I'm not here to hurt you, but I believe you deserve the truth." He took a deep breath, steadying himself. "Your husband is involved in an extramarital affair with one of our employees, Vanessa Langdon." The world slowed. I stared at him, the name crashing through me like a wave. I had expected something, anything, but not this. Not confirmation. Not like this. I don't understand," I said, though I did. Deep down, I always had. Richard continued, his voice measured but tense. "Vanessa joined the company 8 months ago. Young, driven, very ambitious. She quickly aligned herself with Daniel. At first, it looked professional. Then, there were whispers, nothing concrete, but enough to raise concerns." I blinked hard, fighting the sting behind my eyes. "Why are you telling me this?" I asked, barely above a whisper. "Why not talk to him directly?"
I did, he said. Twice.
I warned him, told him it was dangerous, not just morally, but professionally. We have a zero-tolerance policy for personal entanglements that compromise leadership judgment. He promised to end it.
He paused.
But he didn't. I stared at the steam curling from my teacup, willing it to ground me. My fingers trembled as I held the handle. Everything inside me screamed to stand, to leave, to deny what I was hearing. But I didn't. I stayed. I listened. "Last week," Richard went on, "Vanessa was spotted entering Daniel's hotel room during the retreat. Multiple employees saw. It's no longer a rumor. And I." He stopped, pressed his fingertips to his forehead, like the weight of it was too much to articulate. "I have a wife, Emily. 32 years. If she were being deceived the way you are, I would want someone to tell her. That's why I'm here." For a moment, we sat in silence again. The truth stretched between us, raw, undeniable. I tried to speak, but my voice cracked. "How long?" I finally asked. 5, maybe 6 months. That's what we estimate based on travel records, off-site meetings, private dinners billed to corporate accounts. I almost laughed bitterly. He didn't even hide it well. Is she in love with him?
I asked.
Or is this just strategy? Richard's expression hardened. Vanessa is calculating. She's using Daniel to rise faster. And he's letting her. The betrayal sank deeper. It wasn't just sex. It wasn't just lying. It was the fact that Daniel had allowed himself to be manipulated so easily, risking everything we had for a woman who saw him as a stepping stone. I thought we were happy, I murmured, more to myself than to him. I thought we were solid. Richard's voice softened. You probably were. But sometimes, people mistake success for entitlement. And in positions of power, that delusion grows. I looked up at him. So, what happens now? To him, he didn't flinch. There will be consequences. Internally, he'll face review. Possibly demotion. If it escalates, termination. I exhaled slowly. I didn't know whether to feel vindicated or shattered. Maybe both. I'm sorry, Richard said quietly. I truly am. I believed him. When the meeting ended, he stood and offered his hand again. I shook it, grateful, though the gratitude was tangled with sorrow. He gave me a final look, part warning, part sympathy, and walked away. I sat alone for a long time after, watching the city move outside the cafe window. People strolled by, laughing, carrying coffee cups, holding hands. Ordinary lives, unfractured. I wondered how many of them carried secrets like mine beneath their polished surfaces. Back home, I sat in the bedroom Daniel and I once shared so effortlessly and replayed every moment of the last 6 months. The missed calls, the quick showers, the sudden changes in plans, the new cologne, the way he always looked slightly guilty when I caught him watching me. The signs were always there. I had simply chosen not to see them. The voicemail from Richard still sat on my phone. I played it one last time, listening to his hesitant voice, the gravity in every word. And I knew, with sobering clarity, that this wasn't just a fracture in our marriage. It was the collapse of the foundation. But tomorrow, Daniel would return. And for the first time in our marriage, I wouldn't be waiting with a kiss or a smile. I'd be waiting with the truth. Daniel walked through the front door just after 8 in the evening, suitcase in hand, still wearing the tailored suit from his trip. He looked exhausted, tie loosened, jaw tense, eyes sunken. But when he saw me standing in the living room, waiting, something in his expression shifted. Not surprise. Not guilt. Caution. Hey, he said, setting his bag down slowly. Didn't expect you to still be up. I'm sure there's a lot you didn't expect. The words hung in the air between us. Sharp. Measured. Intentional. He hesitated, then stepped closer, unbuttoning his jacket like it would make the moment less heavy. What's going on? I didn't move. I met with Richard Hayes. He stopped mid-step. His expression hardened. You what? Yesterday. At a cafe. He called me. Daniel's voice rose an octave, startled. Why would he call you? Because he thought I deserved to know that my husband is sleeping with one of his employees. His face drained of color. It was the first time I saw fear flicker behind his eyes. He opened his mouth, but no words came. Vanessa Langdon, I added. Do you deny it? He turned away, rubbing the back of his neck like he could scrub away the accusation. The silence was answer enough. So it's true, I said, my voice calmer than I felt. I didn't mean for it to happen, he said finally, his tone defensive, like a child caught in a lie. It just did. I laughed once, dry and humorless. It just happened? Like a car crash? He winced. It wasn't supposed to mean anything. Then why didn't you stop it? I asked. Why did you lie to me for months? Cancel our trips? Change your password? Let me sleep beside you every night while you were with her? He turned to face me, desperate now. I made a mistake. A horrible one. But Emily, I swear to you it's over. Is it? I asked coldly. Or is she just finished using you? His shoulders stiffened. That's not fair. No, Daniel. What's not fair is that I gave you everything. I supported you through every promotion, every late night, every goddamn work trip. And you threw it away for someone who saw you as a stepping stone. He looked stunned. You think that's all this was? Richard told me everything. His expression cracked, the defensiveness melting into shame. Then you know I risked everything for her, he said, almost to himself. I stared at him, horrified. You don't even hear yourself. You risked everything for her. Not for us.
Not for this marriage. You didn't just cheat, Daniel.
You chose her. He stepped forward, reaching for me. I backed away. Don't. Emily, please, he said, voice trembling now. Don't walk away from this. From us. We can fix this. There is no us anymore, I said, my voice steady. You burned that down the moment you decided I wasn't enough.
He dropped his arms.
You're wrong.
You've always been enough. This wasn't about you.
Exactly, I whispered. It was about you. And what you thought you were entitled to. The room fell quiet. I picked up my overnight bag from the chair, the one I packed while waiting for him to come home. Just the essentials for now. Where are you going? He asked, panic edging into his voice. Samantha's, I replied. I need space. And I need clarity. You're not even going to try to fix this? He asked, incredulous. No, Daniel. You had months to fix this. I just found out. And I refuse to be the woman who begs her husband to stay. He stood motionless, watching me walk to the door, lips parted like he wanted to say something. But he didn't, because there was nothing left to say. 2 weeks later, I sat across from my attorney, signing the first batch of divorce papers. My hand shook, but I felt something new rising beneath the grief, strength. I hadn't told many people. Just Samantha, my sister, and my parents. The story would spread eventually, but I no longer cared what people whispered. Daniel tried calling every day for the first week. Left long, rambling voicemails. I never responded. Then gradually the calls stopped. I started therapy. Took a freelance project designing a friend's boutique. Small steps, but they felt like mine. One evening, I sat on Samantha's porch, wrapped in a blanket, sipping wine as the sky turned from lavender to dusk. You look lighter, she said. I think I am, I replied. Do you miss him? I thought for a moment. I miss who I thought he was. But that version of him doesn't exist anymore. Maybe he never did. She nodded, then squeezed my hand. I'm proud of you.
So was I.
Weeks turned into months. I moved into a small apartment with wide windows and morning sun. I painted the walls myself. Bought mismatched furniture that made me feel young again. I stopped looking for closure in Daniel's silence. One day, I passed him on the street. He was alone. We didn't speak, but he looked at me like a man who had lost something he finally understood was irreplaceable. And that was enough. I learned that betrayal doesn't just break you. It reveals you. It pulls back the curtains on everything you chose to ignore, everything you accepted in the name of love. But it also teaches you your worth. Not everyone deserves access to your heart. Some people only show you who they are when it's far too late. But if you're lucky, you'll find yourself in the rubble. Stronger, sharper, unapologetically whole.